In this cup, I have 168 kidney beans that are my wife's, and she doesn't know I'm using this, and she'll realize it when she sees this video. But 168 kidney beans, and the reason I have 168 kidney beans is to give you a visualization of how many hours you have during the week. There are 168 hours in a typical week. On a normal week, I don't know if there's ever not 168 hours in some certain weeks. I don't know, but 168 hours. Okay. Um, a lot of that time is spent sleeping. Let's say you get 7 hours of sleep a night. That is 49 hours throughout the week. So out of the 168 hours, you spend 49 of that sleeping. And for the majority of us, we have a job or we go to school. So that's like an 8 to 4 or 9 to 5. That's an extra 56 hours during the week that is taken from this 168-hour pile. And that leaves you, that's about 105 hours total between sleep and between work. And that leaves you with 63 hours left, 63 beans left to spread out amongst eating food, prepping food, getting ready for school or work, or doing whatever you need to do, chores around the house or whatever. All right. I have a second cup here, and this cup represents how much time you invest with God. Now, if you claim to be a Christian, typically you spend some time at church on Sunday if you claim to be a Christian. Okay. So typically, your typical church service is about 2 hours, 2 hours a week, where you worship God, you listen to the sermon, and you fellowship. Okay. Typically 2 hours. Now, I'll be generous and say that you also attend a midweek service, maybe like a Wednesday night or a Sunday afternoon or evening, or maybe like a connect group Bible study kind of thing. And you spend another hour there. And so during the week, you're giving, if that's it, and you're not spending any time alone with the Lord one-on-one, you're giving him 3 hours out of your 168 hours you have during the week. 3 hours of that. Is that enough? Think of it of like trying to take these 3 kidney beans right here. You boil them, you salt them, you season them, and then you try to live off of them, only them, as a meal for the rest of the 165 hours you have left during the week. Would you be able to survive? That is what you do when the only time you're spending with the Lord during your 168 hours of the week is at church and maybe like a Bible study group. If you are not having a personal relationship with God during the week on your own outside of church, this is what your life looks like. Can you expect these 3 hours, these 3 kidney beans, to guide you to live a more godly life in the rest of the 165 hours or kidney beans that you have during the week? It's gonna be pretty hard to do that, and one of the reasons for that is because you are not developing a one-on-one relationship with Christ. The only time during the week that you are experiencing Christ is when you're around other people. It's not you, just you and God. It's you and God and all your brothers and sisters in Christ that you have in your congregation. And you are not giving yourself time to develop that one-on-one relationship with the Lord where the intimacy comes in that you need to have with God in order to make the rest of the 165 hours of the week look like Christ was living it for you. If the only time you're spending with the Lord is with other Christians on church on Sundays or midweek or whatever, giving them about 3 hours a week, you're going to struggle to make the rest of the 165 hours of the week look like Christ for living it. And that is why it's important that you get your beans spread out a little bit more and add a couple more hours to the God cup so that that will help nourish you and guide you and prepare you for the rest of the hours that you have during the week. Church, let's go back to 3. This should be like the gravy on top of the mashed potatoes that you already have during the week. Church should be a supplement to your relationship with God rather than the main meal. Because if church is the main meal, give me 2. That's 4. I'll leave it at 4. If church is the main meal, you're going to get pretty hungry during the week. But if church isn't the main meal and you're spending other time with God throughout the week, then you'll be able to handle the rest of the hours of the week because you are full on God and ready to hear his voice and do what he tells you to do during the rest of the hours. And so, how many hours are you giving to God during the week compared to how many hours you're giving to everything else? Is it enough, or are you malnourished spiritually because you're not spending enough time or enough beans with God? That's the question for you today.